Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I'm your host Faisal Raza. You are watching Foresight. Viewers across the world, international community know and many nations believe that Indian nefarious and hegemonic designs under Modi's Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh extremist and terrorist Hindutva ideology, which India sponsors at the state level. But soon after the worst defeat in May 2025, India is now at the path of complete destruction. Why? You must have this question in your mind. India's reported plan to develop a massive conventional bunker buster missile based on the Agni 5 intercontinental ballistic missile marks a dangerous shift from deterrence to counterforce, while the West is still silent as a spectator. How this move actually threatens regional stability and blurs the lines between the conventional and a nuclear warfare. Whether India's bunker buster missile ambitions signal a first strike posture, risking escalation, miscalculation, and a potential missile arms race in South Asia. What are the implications for Pakistan, and how should Islamabad has to react or respond? To get answers of these vital questions, we have in our studio Moiz Khan. He is the research officer at the Center for International Strategic Studies, CISS. Thank you very much, Moiz, for your presence here. And Usman Haider, he is the Indian Defense Affairs expert. Thank you very much, Usman, for being with us here in the studios. And online, joining us, Dr. Tughral Yamin. He is the nuclear affairs expert. Thank you very much for your presence online, Doctor. My first question to you, Usman. Since the Bharatiya Janata Party came to power in 2014, India's strategic posture has increasingly reflected a shift towards counterforce targeting of Pakistan's military and the strategic assets, openly signaled through repeated statements and induction of systems like Prahar, BrahMos, Scalp, Agni Prime, and now intentions to have Agni 5 bunker buster. Does this growing emphasis on precision strike capability indicate a deliberate move away from the deterrence to a destabilizing counterforce, or the first strike doctrine against Pakistan?
Yes, you are absolutely right. We have witnessed that since 2014, there are repeated statements by officials like B.S. Nagal, their ex-strategic force command head, Dr. Avinash Chandra, their former DRDO head, Shiv Shankar Menon. He is very close. He was also a former Secretary of National Security Advisory Board as well, which basically formulated any changes within the Indian nuclear strategy and nuclear doctrine as well. But these were not just the mere statements from them. We have seen the actual capabilities as well, like the induction of Prahar, the induction of BrahMos air-launched cruise missile in 2019. They modified their Su-30s. I think 40 to 42 Su-30s were modified to launch these air-launched missiles, BrahMos. Then we have seen the, you can say, development as well as then in the process of induction of Agni Prime. Agni Prime, by the way, has a CEP of less than 10 meters. That is very, very accurate missile, especially for a ballistic missile. Then you also mentioned that Agni 5, now they are basically made two variants of Agni 5, one for the airburst version and one for the penetrator, to basically destroy the Pakistani strategic facilities as well as the conventional facilities like air bases and cantonments. And we have also seen, like in 2019, weapon naring, by quoting the former Indian officials, they said that some portion of India's nuclear arsenal, which is Pakistan-centric, is now at a high state of readiness. That is totally against the Indian policy of NFU, where they state that our missiles and our warhead, they are stored in a separate, no first use. But now they are missiles and warhead, they are integrated, because we have seen like in case of Agni Prime, Agni 5, as well as new inductions of cruise missiles, they are basically stored in canisters. Canisterization means that their missiles and warheads are close to, they're integrated together. So it's not just the statements, the capabilities which are there. They state that India is now thinking of striking Pakistan first in any future crisis. They have this ability. and we have seen that they want to escalate things as well. So that is very destabilizing for the South Asia, which has two nuclear weapon states. So we have the mindset in New Delhi is like they want to basically go for a nuclear first strike, which is basically deviating from their policy of, you can say, deterrence or NFU to a counterforce posturing, to go for a preemptive counterforce strikes.
Your point well taken. Moiz, what about new Indian missile race, especially regarding the high-powered conventional bunker buster missile, reportedly to be built on its Agni 5 ballistic missile platform, that is an intercontinental ballistic missile to carry a colossal 7,500 kg, about 8 tons of the conventional warhead instead of a nuclear payload, and would be designed to penetrate 80 to 100 meters underground before detonating, enabling it to destroy deeply buried or hardened targets. So how do you see it, how this missile race would impact regionally?
Well, first we have to see that technological developments are always preceded by, are always doctrinal intents and policies. So as Usman has very well explained in detail, that Indian doctrine, it's not now moving towards counterforce. We can say, or we can see after the recent crisis, that it has now transformed, and it is now on the basis of a counterforce strike that they would be willing to undertake against Pakistan. So that is the one reason they are thinking of developing all kinds of capabilities that they can utilize in a counterforce strike, because Pakistan is not a smaller nuclear power state. It is a well mature nuclear power state with capabilities in all the three domains: air, land and sea domain. So launching a counterforce strike against...
You're talking about triad.
Yeah, triad. So launching a counterforce strike against a country like Pakistan, such a mature nuclear power state, it requires a lot of capabilities, and India is trying to develop or is trying to look at all the possible options that it can. And so with these bunker busters, they have now, as we can say, seen in the recent Israel-Iran crisis, they can still serve a purpose in this regard. And with India not having such capabilities that they can penetrate deep into the earth, and they can strike the hardened structures of Pakistan, and also because of the lack of their air force capability to strike precisely, they are now thinking about utilizing land force missiles, because no country has so far developed a land force missile for bunker buster technology. So this shows that their doctrine has now reached that point, and they are looking at all the options to utilize for that, all those technological developments. However, would that lead to a missile race in South Asia? Pakistan has, for the past 30 years, since we have become a nuclear power state, has always maintained and has always tried to not entangle in an arms race, and it has always tried to maintain a strategic stability in the region. So Pakistan's approach has always been to maintain a strategic parity and to keep a qualitative match towards the Indian arsenal.
Definitely, you are absolutely
So I guess
right.
I don't think so Pakistan would be moving towards an arms race, and it would try to minimize that as much as possible.
Definitely, definitely. Dr. Tughral, what you perceive out of Indian designs to match its missile arsenal with the world powers and give a signal to entire regional countries about their insecurity as Delhi's path towards destruction, rather development and prosperity, while is it not entirely a new chapter in South Asia's evolving strategic and the security landscape, an increasing risk of a hazardous entanglement between conventional and the nuclear technologies and strategies? Do you not think that it compels to change the nuclear doctrines? What would be the ultimate impact of it?
Faisal Saab, I don't think there's any change in Indian designs. Indians have been for a very long time now trying to build themselves up as a regional hegemon, and they think that they have the backing of certain powerful nations in their aspirations to become a regional hegemon. And in this grand plan, they always want to suppress the neighbors in their uh, immediate surrounding, which includes Pakistan. But as you pointed out in your initial comments in the May war, the short-lived war that took place, the Indians were given a very strong lesson that they cannot take Pakistan lightly, that it's attacking Pakistan is not a cakewalk, and they cannot, God forbid, defeat Pakistan neither conventionally or in the strategic realm. So what they're doing now is, after having found out that their aircraft carrying arsenal-like bunker buster uh, bombs cannot enter Pakistan space, they are now trying to build up uh, uh, long-range missiles which can carry heavy loads. And the only difference here is that instead of carrying nuclear warheads, they intend sending uh, deep penetrators, thermobaric missiles, which can penetrate deep into the earth, 60 feet or 80 feet. I do not know what kind of arsenal that they have in this particular category, but they are trying to send their uh, replicas of GBU 57 that the Americans had, which could penetrate 60 to 100 or maybe more feet into the earth to to target deep buried nuclear arsenals. That's what they're trying to do with their missiles. This is a new
So,
development, but
so
no
Dr.
development is
Tughral,
new. When you start a development, it takes time, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to develop a credible weapon system. So, although they are trying to upgrade the range of their Agni 5s and Suryas, and perhaps also BrahMos, uh, the main thing here is the warhead that they would be carrying. It would probably not be a nuclear warhead, but a conventional warhead. But again, the point is whether it's a nuclear warhead or whether it's a conventional warhead, the lines are blurred. If you are struck by a missile, then you can fire back with a nuclear missile because you have no knowledge of what kind of weapon has been sent, whether it's a high explosive or whether it's a nuclear weapon with radioactive fallout. So this is something new. Otherwise, Indian plans have always been to become a major power in the region. They've been propped up by major powers to become a major power, to actually become a counterweight to the
so
Chinese,
Dr.
and they
Tughral,
want
Dr. Tughral,
every other day. Yes.
could India's reported move to convert the nuclear-capable Agni 5 missile into a conventional bunker buster weapon raises serious concerns? Is this a calculated attempt to bypass its own no first use nuclear policy, enabling a first strike capability under the guise of conventional warfare and dangerously lowering the nuclear threshold in the region? How do you respond to this?
Faisal Saab, the nuclear non-first use was always a facade. India never meant it. And they have said on various occasions that they can use a nuclear weapon as a preemptive measure also. And we have seen, particularly in case of Israel, that they have used weapons, conventional weapons, preemptively. So there is no stopping India from using a conventional or nuclear weapon preemptively. You cannot stop them. In war, there are no rules. Everything is fair in love and war. All of us know it. So whatever they may say, uh, whatever is their doctrine, which is known to us, which is a draft doctrine, they can always go bypass it, or they can neglect it, or they can do something which they feel is more appropriate. We don't have a proper defined doctrine. We have never said that this is our nuclear doctrine. Whatever we know about our own nuclear doctrines is a corpus of statement from various leaders, DGSPD or prime ministers or nuclear scientists, things like that. We don't have a nuclear
Definitely.
doctrine,
You are
a
absolutely
doctrine
right,
which we
Dr.
have
Tughral, because
actually.
the ex-National Security Advisor, Shiv Shankar Menon, he also mentioned in his book, Choices. So I think so that you are absolutely right on that path. So Usman, reports suggest that India is intended to reduce the speed of Agni 5, and technically it's like that because if you have more speed in thousands, so it means it is going to reduce in at least 2,500 kilometers with heavier payloads, and intend to build two missiles based variants for the bunker busters, one with an airburst warhead for surface targets and another an earth penetrator. Similar to the concept as Dr. Sab mentioned about the US GBU 57 massive ordnance penetrator MOP bomb with 8 tons of warheads. What would be ultimate strategy Pakistan has to adopt on that really?
Yeah, so India is basically trying to reduce the range of the Agni 5 by having a heavier payload of like reportedly 810. So okay, what Pakistan can do? As Dr. Saab mentioned correctly, that this will the Agni 5, this new variants, they will take time. They will take time, they will be tested, and then they will be inducted into service. What Pakistan can do is that Pakistan can do two things. First of all, as we have also reported earlier by government of Pakistan as well, that we have shown interest in acquisition of HQ-19 from China. So we would have to have at least 2 to 3 regiments of HQ-19. So basically we can have the capability to intercept these missiles.
You are talking about 2 to 3 batteries or?
2 to 3 regiments.
Okay.
2 to 3 regiments.
Okay.
So so first of all, we have to go with that. Second, we have to go with disperser. Disperser strategy, Pakistan already had this disperser strategy, the storage of our assets in a diverse location, but not just go with that. If we have to build some new facilities, we have to keep this in mind of 810 warhead penetrator as well as we also have to harden our surface facilities as well. Why? Because the airburst version, this is for the destruction of our surface facilities, whether these can be Air Force, Army or naval target. And what we can do, another thing, basically, especially in a crisis, we also go for preemptive dispersal of assets. As soon as if there is a signs of a crisis development, we have to deploy our forces and the systems in a far-flung areas, in a different location. So it will become extremely difficult for systems like Agni 5 to basically hit one target and destroy a large amount of our assets.
Your point well taken. Your point well taken. Moiz, do you not think that the Indian move to have strategic heavy payloads, conventional missile-based delivery systems, to target command centers, the missile silos, strategic or the nuclear sites, could take the entire region towards an unseen disaster from such an ill thinking by India, while Pakistan has to move at fast pace to match up things when Pakistan has already a robust missile technology and could be converted into a heavy payload bunker buster even. So what your thoughts are on this aspect?
First, we have to think that do we really need to match India in that matter, as India is building ICBMs? Is Pakistan building? No. Does Pakistan need to build? No. So we need to invest on those technologies that are necessary for our own deterrence capability. Indian strategy or Indian attempts to compel Pakistan, they can only be stopped with strategic parity. India, very well known after starting the Operation Sindoor, that after the first strikes of Pakistan, they had to back down because they knew that Pakistan has that capability. Now, does Pakistan need to undertake counterforce strike against India? I don't think so. We need to undertake counterforce strikes against India. So we do not need such kind of technologies. What we need to further strengthen our deterrent capability. As Usman has already mentioned, that we need to increase the dispersal. But I think we should also certainly need to develop a far more robust second strike capability. Yes, we have a triad. Yes, we have a second strike ability, but I think it is time that with the pace India is moving and with such certain kind of developments they are looking towards, it's time for Pakistan to make nuclear submarines, and it is time for Pakistan to invest in SSBNs. So a robust second strike ability can give India a checkmate in this domain too. We have checkmated India after their Cold Star doctrine, and now we have to checkmate India's counterforce ambition.
So, your very valid point. Usman, now India's official doctrine remains no first use, what we know actually, NFU, of the nuclear weapons. So, any possible unprovoked misadventure in future by Delhi with a conventional weapon or a non-nuclear warhead to destroy any strategic site like the nuclear installations in the region would technically not going to violate the so-called Indian NFU policy, number one, but in real terms, it would be a first strike within a minute attack on country's strategic assets and would be a clear act of war. that could trigger the rapid escalation, the miscalculations, or might be a sudden nuclear response because of no clarity whether the warhead is conventional or nuclear, because you can't separate it when it is going to be primed or that is fired from a certain location. So how do you see, because this is going to create some sort of a confusion. So in that confusion, might be the response would be very lethal.
Okay, so first of all, India never has a full NFU. They always have this conditional NFU. So now they are going toward basically targeting of a Pakistani strategic assets with their conventional payloads. Like Dr. Tughral and Yamin earlier stated, that Pakistan has no declared nuclear doctrine. We only have the statements of, like Dr. Saab mentioned, former DGSP Syed, current DGSPD, or Prime Minister and other
we don't have the
people.
policy of no
we don't have,
yes, definitely, no
okay.
doubt.
So the thing is that Indians perceive that by striking a strategic site which basically holds Pakistan nuclear weapons or nuclear delivery system by conventional weapon systems or conventional warhead, like they are building this Agni 5 and any other system, will not basically provoke a nuclear response from Pakistan. This is a hypothetical scenario. In an actual crisis, we can see the use of nuclear weapons by Pakistan as well, because it's always, we have to see that how much destruction will Indian strike cause. So the Indian assumption or Indian assertion that their conventional response, their conventional attack on our strategic sites will not use nuclear response, it basically totally, you can say, a facade by the Indians. So so Indians have to realize this thing. You cannot strike nuclear weapons at any cost, nuclear sites at any cost. You have to respect that, because if you will strike a nuclear asset, Pakistan has to strike back, and things can then go spiral out. It can become a whole blown nuclear
Definitely,
conflict.
it's going to be a real disaster across the region, and India has to take steps very cautiously, because both are the nuclear powers, and when Pakistan commit, not only commit but do. So this is really important. Moiz, how do you see the warning by the scholars at the Atlantic Council's South Asian Center in the context of India-Pakistan crisis and escalation risk, especially after Indian violations of the Pakistan's airspace in Balakot, and subsequently got a befitting response in the form of Operation Swift Retort in 2019. The scholars warned that inadvertent escalation may occur when conventional attacks put the adversary's nuclear force at risk. So, do you not think that in case of any such adventure or a threat of destruction or incapacitation of the nuclear deterrent would create a use it or lose it dilemma, and then that trigger the unwanted?
Well, certainly it does, and it is not theoretical anymore. After 2019, we have seen that the developments in the region, and now in 2025, the thresholds are changing. And Pakistan has already stated that we will not wait, we will retaliate, and in every conflict we will retaliate with a plus. So quid pro quo plus of Pakistan is there, and this conventional nuclear entanglement and the development of technologies like hypersonic, ballistic missile defense system. So the decision makers and scholars across the world, they are warning us about non-nuclear strategic weapons that are having certain impact on nuclear stability. This danger is it is not in the books anymore. So this dilemma of use it or lose it, every state that would certainly face that their nuclear assets, which is their deterrent, which is their guarantee against a nuclear attack, which is their security survival guarantee, when they are under threat, and when they know that adversary like India, which knows no bound, which does not play by the rules of rational deterrence theory. Their leadership has once and again in the past 8 to 10 years have shown that they cannot be counted as rational, and the brinkmanship that Modi has employed in 2019 and then again now in 2025, and their miscalculation, these things are not only in the books anymore that were used to be during the Cold War crisis. This irrationality of India has bring this unstable, has bring this nightmarish kind of reality that we need to take seriously, because nuclear is not a thing that if this deterrence fails, then There can be a certain salvage. It cannot be salvaged. If it once failed, and if that madness is, or if the gene of that nuclear is once launched, it cannot go back, and it would be disastrous for the whole region and the world.
So how this question is basically to you both. How actually Pakistan has to react to it, how Pakistan has to respond to it. But no doubt about that any technology takes years to build, really. But this is the time that Pakistan has to propagate that what actually India is thinking is disastrous for the whole region, even for the whole world. And world must have to be cautious what India is actually doing. So India is now after the whole of the region, because this kind of a destruction, this would not be limited to India or Pakistan, because whole of the region is going to be affected, God forbid, if that happened. So how do you see how Pakistan has to deal it defense-wise, at diplomatic level, at international forums, how we have to deal?
Okay, so first of all, I'll start my answer by stating the definition of strategic stability. Strategic stability defines that it is a condition in which neither side has the incentive for first strike. Okay. What Indians are doing at this moment, they are trying to create that capability where they have incentives to strike first against Pakistan. Okay. So what Pakistan can do, you have also on diplomatic level and also on the military or defensive level. So starting from the military capabilities, Pakistan need to build hypersonic weapons. Indians are building, they have this BM4, they have this long range 1500 kilometer which they have tested 2-3 months ago as well. Second, Pakistan have to acquire HQ-19 because they are the systems which can basically intercept Indian incoming missiles. Third, Pakistan has to board, as Moiz earlier mentioned, a short second strike capability. That can only becomes when we have to basically have a fleet of commissioned functioning SSBN, ballistic missile nuclear submarines, because they can remain submerged underwater for a longer period of times compared to the diesel electric submarines. Okay, then we can also, then we have to harden our side, we have to have multiple command and control facilities, because these are very important in the modern conflict. Okay, now coming towards on the diplomatic level, we have to engage China, we have to engage the US, Washington, we have to engage UK, France, Germany, who are basically the global powers in this, including Russia as well. We have to continuously remind them the actions taken by
Usman,
India.
coming back to you, Dr. Tughral is with us now. What about, Dr. Tughral, what about the India-Pakistan non-attack agreement of 1988 that recognized how provocative any attack on nuclear installations could be? Even in a conventional war, pact commits both countries not to attack on each other's declared nuclear facilities, while it is also covers primarily the civilian facilities and the open sites. The spirit behind it is relevant. An attack on the nuclear infrastructure is extraordinarily escalator. Is it so? And do you think that the Indian natural betrayal instinct actually would adhere the bilateral agreement, as it had the dark history of violating the legal instruments?
Faisal Saab, India claims, I have read it on the social media, that they tried to strike Rana Hills, which are supposedly uh, where some of our nuclear arsenal is supposedly buried. So if they have done that, they have already violated this agreement of non-attack on each other's nuclear installations. In any case,
Doctor,
after that,
it was a sheer propaganda. Actually, we don't have any
okay,
facility in Karana Hills.
let me finish. Let me finish, Faisal Saab. Let me finish. After telling us that they are going to stop our waters, what else do they want to do? I think that is a clear violation of one of the longest held treaty. It was often cited as one of the strongest confidence building measures between any two countries. So if they are stopping our waters, what stops them from attacking our nuclear sites? Whether it's propaganda, whether it's actual. So I don't think they will not strike our supposed nuclear arsenals. That's what I'm trying to say. They can do it if they want to do. But obviously, we have to take safeguards. We have to shift our arsenals if we want. And I know that all our arsenals are not at one place. And if they think that XYZ place we have some kind of nuclear arsenal, they might be absolutely wrong. But you cannot stop them from attacking. All these agreements, all these understandings, they are on papers and they can be violated if India wants. And India has been violating the way they violated the Indus Water Treaty. This is the gravest and biggest violation, worse than a nuclear bomb. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
You are absolutely right. Doctor, whether India is trying to fabricate basically the portrayal of the region, being a portrayal of a regional power by having hegemonic intentions under its Hindutva extremist and terrorist expansionist policy, and if so, arises here, why are the United States more focused on Pakistan's medium-range ballistic missiles, and that too inspiring from Indian fake and fabricated propaganda, what's going on? I'm not going into the details, but the Washington never raised its reservations on the Indian intentions of developing intercontinental ballistic missiles or converting them into the bunker buster missiles.
Faisal Sahab, these are double standards. All of us know that realpolitik or international politics are not based uh, on fairness. These are double standards, and Pakistan has always been a victim of these double standards. So they will say that the resistance front, the alleged resistance front, which they say were the perpetrators of the Pahalgam incident, were linked to LET. They will say it, and the Americans will censure this figment of India's imagination as and sanction it as a terrorist group. But we've always been saying that we have nothing to do with the Pahalgam incident. This is all something which the Indians have been doing in the past also. It has been a false flag operation. And yesterday also, our deputy head of the mission in New York, in the UN Security Council, also said that India plays the victim card when it comes to terrorism, where they are themselves the biggest sponsors of terrorism. So what else can you say? They will do what they feel like doing, and the Western world is going to support them for their own reasons. It's a big market. They're going to sell their ammunition and weapons to them. Even the Americans will not sell you. They don't want to sell you weapons because the United States, because the Indians don't allow them to sell their weapons to us. So these are economic reasons. These are double standards. Nothing is fair in love and war, and India gets away
Definitely.
with
Definitely.
murder also.
Dr. Tughral, you are
Thank you.
absolutely right. Your point well taken. Moiz, what Indian intentions are, why India is triggering already ongoing arms race into a missile race, as it had already designed and developed intercontinental ballistic missiles like Agni 4, 5, and now 6 might be short and the medium range ballistic missiles like supersonics and the hypersonic missiles, and now intended to design this bunker buster, along with having to have strategic bomber like US, Russia, China. They want to have some sort of a false signaling to the world that they are also a regional power. Please accept me as well.
What can I say? They are delusional. Recently in an article, it was said that India's delusions of being a major power or a global power. And this delusions is not only limited to the BJP government. This strategic thinking of being a global power dates back to the start of Nehru's years. This prestige was the reason India first started developing its nuclear weapons. Pakistan was not a nuclear weapon state. Even in the start, China was not a nuclear weapon state. So what was the imperative for India? In the early 1950s, why India started its nuclear program? And from the very start, India has been trying to develop technologies like intercontinental ballistic missile. Why do they need these kind of technologies? And now talking about developing a bunker buster and even strategic bombers. There is no need for India to develop them, and if they think there is need, so the world should be worried, because India's ambitions are not limited to South Asia, and these are not limited to Pakistan alone. They are now they have now bad relations with Bangladesh. They can utilize these bunker busters against Bangladesh. They have kind of fighting with every other second regional state, and now their ambitions are beyond
India is
Asia.
not the friend of any regional country, or when we are talking about internationally, even they are not even the friend of those who are supposed to be their allies, really. So last question, Usman, be very short, because you have already mentioned about HQ-19, the assured second strike capability, SSBNs and all others. So what would else Pakistan has to do and convince the international community that this India is actually a destructive state which wants destruction, the complete destruction of the region. And if this fascist, extremist, terrorist Modi regime, which believes in Hindutva ideology, Akhand Bharat and the lots of others mantras by India, India must have to be accountable on all these crimes what they are committing against humanity and planning to have these commitments in the region and across the globe.
We have to start proactive diplomacy. We have to basically convince the Washington, Beijing, Kremlin as well as London that India is trying to destabilize the region. And that's not also mere basically the rhetoric coming from Pakistan. We have seen the Indian involvement in Balochistan. We have seen the 2025 crisis started by India, and then their aspirations to develop these bunker buster missile and etc. So we have to start proactive diplomacy. We have to send our delegations to these capitals. Then we have to constantly remind them. It's not just we have sent a delegation today. It has to be a constant struggle. It has to be a constant effort at the diplomatic level, at the think tanks level, and also our media also play an important part, because media nowadays, they have a strong, you can say, of reach towards internationally, globally, to all the audience. So our media has to be on board, our diplomatic core has to be on board, our academic think tanks, they have to be on board as well.
Actually Pakistan's narrative of peace and stability and development, prosperity in the region, rather than to be the destruction. Thank you very much, Usman, for your presence in the studios, and thank you very much, Moiz, for your valuable time being in the studios, and thank you very much, Dr. Tughral, for your precious time and very valuable comments, really. Viewers, as you have just listened to our panelists, India is actually trying to throw the region a destructive atmosphere. We have to stop India, not only Pakistan, but whole of the region and across the world, whole of the globe, because India is one country which only wants destruction, not the development. Pakistan has to strengthen its air defense systems, as our panelist Usman mentioned about HQ-19, that is the latest one, the Chinese version. And we have to emphasize on, already we have, but we have to emphasize upon the dispersal and strengthening our missile storage facilities and also the nuclear sites to the different regions. Then we need a nuclear submarine. Different nuclear submarines, because they have more time to stay under water, and with the kind of a vertical launch facilities with SSBNs, we have assured second strike capability, and that must have to be assured when we are talking about triads. Pakistan has a policy of quid pro quo, but India has to be cautious, because after the May episode, India must have to realize Pakistan is not talking. Pakistan always take action when it is attacked by any sort of adversary. We are hardened because of our war of counter-terrorism, and we are getting lots of successes and giving lots of sacrifices as well. Our forces, our armed forces, along with our civilians. And this hardened nation is ready for any sort of eventuality. So whenever India thinks about Pakistan, they have to think about that what happened in the Operation Swift Retort, and then the Marka-e-Haq and Operation Bunyan-e Mursus. International community has to wake up and make India accountable for its crimes against humanity and what crimes India is intended to do or commit, and also the destructive policies India has under, especially when we are talking about the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh extremists and terrorist Hindutva policies, which India is actually supporting, the Modi regime is supporting at the state level. How India is actually supporting terrorism across the region as a tool of its foreign policy. So, world must have to think about. This is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.